All right. Welcome to the Catalyst Way, where we have conversations around unleashing the power of purpose and meaning to fuel transformative change for yourself and in others. And welcome to episode 4. And episode 4 is for those of you who have a persistent sense of unease, a nagging restlessness, or a feeling that life lacks true significance. These are not mere fleeting emotions, but a potent signals that your soul is yearning for something more. And what we're going to talk about today is the purpose and meaning audit. So, what I'll do, I'm going to share my screen so you can see the audit. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the audit and how it might help you think about where purpose and meaning might be lacking in your life. Okay. So, let me share my screen. So, so here is the purpose and meaning audit. And this is an activity that I created probably several months ago to serve as a tool for introspection, designed to help you recognize the subtle and sometimes not so subtle warning signs that it's time to embark on a journey of purpose and meaning exploration. So, so how do we want to approach this, Ivor?
So I think maybe we can, we've got 16 indicators here, and all of them I think are things that we don't often look to evaluate. And because of that, I think we should try to see if there's a way for us to briefly touch on each one, just see how far we get. Because I think that as we go through it, there will probably be one or two that our audience will definitely recognize or see in themselves.
Okay. All right. So we'll just go through the list and see where it takes us. All right. So the goal of this activity is for you to check as many as that apply. And if it's more than one, it's probably a good time to go on a purpose and meaning exploration. So the first one, persistent apathy, a general lack of enthusiasm or interest in activities you once enjoyed. You feel emotionally flat or numb. So, um, any thoughts around that?
So I think that one is, sometimes you can do something that you're good at. And because you're good at it, you do have enthusiasm for it. But because you're good at it doesn't mean that you're doing what's right for you, which I think over time is why you can end up losing the enthusiasm for it. And that numbness can set in, but you can't really pinpoint why it took place because, again, it's something that you're good at.
Right. Okay. And it's funny because it's something you first enjoyed, but then you've lost it, and it's like, and it doesn't come back because you keep searching for it and searching for it, and I want to get the enjoyment back, and it doesn't come back, and then you get stuck. So yeah. Okay. Um, Discomfort. In fact, I think what I want to do is go through all of them and then we could talk about the ones that resonate with us the most. Why don't I do that? I think that
Okay.
might be better. So, two, discomfort. You feel unsettled, a pervasive unease creeping into your life. You feel like something is off, but you can't quite put your finger on what it is. Restlessness, a nagging sense that something is wrong, that your current path is not fulfilling. Your mind is constantly wandering, searching for something that's not there. Chronic dissatisfaction, a constant feeling that something is missing, even when you achieve external success. You feel unfulfilled despite having your basic needs met. Lack of direction, a sense of being adrift without a clear sense of where you are going or what you're working towards. You feel like your life lacks a driving force that gives your life meaning. You feel stuck. Doubt, Uncertainty fuels a constant stream of what if questions, leading to worry and anxiety about the future. You find yourself dwelling on worst case scenarios and feeling overwhelmed by the unknown. Misalignment, when your actions, values, beliefs are incongruent with your authentic self, which creates a sense of internal conflict. You're living a life playing a role that is dictated by external expectations. Meaningless routine. Your days feel repetitive and empty, devoid of deeper significance. You feel like you're going through the motions without any real purpose, wondering if there's more to life than this. Isolation and disconnection. You feel disconnected from others and the world around you. You lack meaningful relationships or a sense of belonging. Focus on external validation. You rely heavily on external achievements, possessions, or approval to feel good about yourself. Your self-worth is tied to external factors. Avoidance of self-reflection. You resist introspection or deep thinking about your life's direction. You avoid confronting uncomfortable truths about yourself. Lack of passion. You struggle to identify activities or causes that ignite a sense of passion or excitement within you. You feel indifferent or uninspired. Unmet potential. You feel like you're not living up to your full potential, that you're wasting your talents or abilities. There's a sense that you're capable of more, but you're not sure how to access it. Unhealthy coping mechanisms. You resort to unhealthy habits or substances to numb emotional pain or fill the void. You engage in behaviors that are ultimately self-destructive, a sense of unimportance. You feel like your life doesn't matter, that your existence has no real significance. You struggle to see your unique role in the world. And the last one, life transitions, significant life changes such as job loss, relationship breakup, negative health diagnosis, or death of a family member disrupt familiar patterns and create a sense of instability. You feel totally lost. So, when you look at that list, when you took it for the first time, were there any of them that really resonated with you more than others?
I think there were a couple. The unmet potential was one, and the discomfort was another one. Uh, Focus on external validation was there a little bit, but it definitely wasn't as strong as the others. And I would say the unmet potential almost was born out of, as cliche as it may be, as it may sound, you are your own worst critic, right? And it was always, I think I could be doing more. I know I should be doing more. I know I'm capable of more, but don't know what the more is necessarily. But, and that I think is what was leading to that discomfort almost. And it's not that I am not satisfied with my life per se, as much as it is, I feel as though if I were doing more, then the sense of satisfaction would be greater. But the frustration is, what's the more supposed to be and what would it look like? And that I think is what led to the external validation. Well, if someone else is telling me I'm doing a good job, that at least makes me feel a little bit better. Maybe I'm on the right path because I'm getting this praise, even though internally I don't exactly feel as though I'm living up to what I should be doing or where I should be, even though I can't put my finger on exactly what that thing is.
Well, so and it's funny because as the creator of the activity, after I finished creating it, I decided which of these I'm going to check off. And for me, the life transition, I think back to, you know, this time 3 years ago or 2 years, well, 3 years ago when I was retiring from UNCG trying to think about what's next. And I've done this work, I did it at UNCG for 15 years. What am I going to do next? Um, and I took a temporary job just to pay the mortgage, but it wasn't a fulfilling job. So I really had to really examine what it is I really want to do with my life. And then, fast forward a year later, I said, well, I'm going to retire, paid off the mortgage, retire. Now what am I going to do? And it's like, so I'm like, I'll retire and do something. Retired, month later, cancer diagnosis. So then it's like, all right, you got to do something. Um, and I think this journey for both of us led us to when we did the last two episodes when we talked about our purpose, it finally came together this past December 2024 when you did your workshop for the pastors and I did, the training and then had that epiphany. And it took time. So one of the things you really have to realize is this journey does take time. So that transition, was really instrumental for me. Um, and then, like you, the focus on external validation. Because it's like, please give me more. Tell me I'm doing a good job. Uh,
Sure.
but it just didn't, like, there was nothing internal. Like, I'm doing a great job, but it wasn't satisfying enough. Um, so,
So here's a
so
question.
yeah,
Would a purpose and meaning audit be just as valuable to someone who is what we would term successful versus someone who isn't?
I would argue yes, because just because you're successful doesn't mean you're living on purpose. So, and it also depends on how you define success. So, we both know a lot of people who are successful, but they're searching for something. And so you think about, all the times we do this workshop, they might be making lots of money in their profession, but they're lost. And I'm sure you see it, when you go to, you think about church, how often do you see it, or how often do you get a question when you talk to someone about purpose and they're like, oh, yeah. How often does that happen for you?
Right. And that's the with the purpose and meaning audit, even where you go with it from a spiritual standpoint, right? Because I think that, you know, society has almost taught us to believe that materialistically we should be discontent, when I think materialistically we should be content, but we should be discontent spiritually. And that's where that purpose and meaning really comes to life. That I'm not discouraged because I'm not where I should be from a material standpoint, but more so intrinsically from a soul position. I know that there's more in me that I could be using to serve the world. And how can I unearth that? How can I get to the point where I bring that to light? And that's really what this activity is designed to do.
So since you asked me a question, I'm going to ask you a question. So, do you believe that understanding where you're at in the purpose and meaning journey, do you believe this can help you pinpoint where you need to go in the forward in your life?
I certainly believe it can, especially with the the way that it's laid out and the indicators that we've included, right? Especially when you think about just having to do a self-reflection, right? Because that's a key one, which I think majority of us often avoid, even if we know we should do it. It's the one we don't. I mean, it's a tough one, right? To really sit down and evaluate you, to reflect on you and put that in its proper perspective. So I think if at any point along that purpose journey you are unclear, I think you walking through these 16 indicators, you're definitely going to get your compass turned due north at some point.
Yeah, and when you look at each of the 16, like I'm reading through them right now and I'm like, oh, we have a tool for that. 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 Like every one of them, there is a tool that you could use to move you forward if you're stuck in any of these areas. Um, so it's fun to when you go through this audit, it's fun to know in the back of our minds that we could help and we have a tool that can help in this process. Um,
And knowing that it's all to get you towards, like you say, it's a more fulfilling and authentic life. That's really what this is all about. And knowing that there are steps along the way. And like you said, we've got tools to guide you along that path to help you recognize that if you do see something as you're going through these indicators, and you may check off more than half the list, and it's okay. Knowing that, we now know where what needs to happen next, what steps need to take place next to get you to where you need to be so that you can live with purpose and meaning.
right? It's not one or the other, it's both. That's one of the
Correct.
things we even talked about that earlier today. It's purpose and meaning as a combination. Um, so what we've done is you know, we'll have the recording. There'll actually be a link to the audit. So if you want to take the audit, there'll be a link to in the description box where you can click on and take the audit yourself, and see where you're at, in terms of your life right now. I would say if you have at least two or more checked, you can benefit from a purpose and meaning exploration um, workshop, or at least that process. And we'll talk about in other episodes, we'll talk about how we can help you with that, um, and help in that process. So, any other things, final thoughts you want to share before um, we call it a day?
No, I think you've summed it up well as far as this activity goes, this audit goes, and I hope that everyone listening will go to the link, take the audit, and just see where they stand because it's a great place to figure out who you are, why you're here, and what you should be doing.
So, all right, so we'll stop the share. So, thank you for joining us this episode. We hope you take advantage of the audit and exploring yourself in the purpose and meaning journey. And if you have any questions or thoughts, you know, post in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts about the tool, and where you're at in the purpose and meaning journey, and we can go from there. So thank you all for joining us this week. And any last thoughts from you, my friend?
That's it. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for
Bye for
joining
now.
us. All righty, see ya.